What are some keys of the game that you have for this game for Texas?
Yeah, I think the first one is really like keep Arch Manning clean. Cameron talked about it. We've talked about it. Like Cassius Howell is a monster. Like there's no two ways around it. 11 and a half sacks. Like I looked at the advanced stats. A&M's front seven creates what they call a havoc play. So like tackle for loss, quarterback hurry, something like that on 16% of their plays. Like their front seven is elite, and there's no two ways around it. Like, and you can talk about level of competition. You can talk about all that. Like when you look at opponent adjusted stats, they're a top 10, top 15 defense. Pardon me.
You're all good.
Allergies. I know. Like it is a good unit. And the Texas offensive line, they've done some reshuffling. This current unit looks better than the previous incarnations of it. But still, they got pushed around a bit on Saturday against Arkansas. And so that Arkansas unit is probably not as good as what A&M brings to the table. So like first things first, keep Arch Manning clean, keep him upright. He's shown an ability to deal now a little bit better with some dirty pockets, with having to reset things with his feet. But you've seen how good he can be when he's able to operate in a clean pocket, operate with time, and make his reads.
No, I completely agree. I didn't get to bring up the stat with Cam, but Oklahoma, Texas A&M, or Texas are the top three teams in sacks. It goes Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Texas. So to me, this game, I completely agree with that. It comes down to which offensive line can protect better. Now, again, if we're going based on the season, Texas A&M, they're 13th offensive line in sack percentage allowed. They're really good up front. Now, have they played a defensive line as good as Texas? No, they have not. I think this is the best defensive line they will have played all year, including Notre Dame, especially because Notre Dame, if you guys didn't realize, go watch their stuff back then to now. The first month of the season for Notre Dame was rough. Ever since then, with the Chris Ash defense, they've gotten a lot better. So I think this is the best defensive line A&M will have faced. So whoever can keep their quarterback the cleanest will win this football game. Now, does Texas have to win the QB hurries or sack battle? No, but they have to be in the conversation. This has to be, if A&M gets 4 or 5 sacks, we're going to have to get 3 or 4 sacks. If they have 5 sacks, we have 1. We're not winning this football game. And actually, I disagree with Cam on that. I think if that does happen, this game could get ugly. I think this game could turn into Georgia, where the end of the score looks like that. Obviously, that game is a little bit close to the end score, but still, it looks like a blowout at the end of the day on the scoreboard, and that could be the case. So I completely agree on that. Number 2 is, and this kind of worried me with what he said, they like to exploit the middle of the field. Guys, I don't know if you've noticed, the middle of the field the past couple of weeks has been pretty damn wide open with Texas, especially with the tight end position. Basically, ever since Mississippi State exploited that with Traore, guess what other teams have done? Oh, that's an issue for Texas. We're just going to exploit that. So we saw that with Georgia. We saw that with the guys from Arkansas this week. They were exploiting the middle of the field with the tight end. Now, I will say, A&M doesn't have a great tight end. I can't even pronounce the dude's name. He's Swedish. That's all I know. And he did catch a big, I believe, either 2-point conversion or touchdown versus Notre Dame in that game. So he is a capable tight end. Now, will he be in that same conversation of the guys that we just played? No. But he may be good enough to exploit the middle of the field versus us, because that's been happening seemingly week in and week out with whoever the tight end is. So we have to shut down the middle of the field. I think Anthony Hill will help with that. It would really worry me if he could not go in this game. So he's got to be on his best game as well in this game to shut down the middle of the field.
Yeah, and I've got something similar as well. A&M is averaging, and again, this is advanced stats when you think about it, 1.6 points per completed pass. That is one of the most explosive passing attacks in the country. So like not just protect the middle field, but keep things in front of you, right? The plays that really cost Notre Dame the game were letting guys run past them, right? Letting guys not having good eye discipline, not having good feet and hip discipline, and letting guys just run straight past them, right? And Texas has some really good athletes on that back end, but Texas has also struggled with bringing guys to the ground, making open field tackles, like keeping things in front of them, getting guys on the ground. A&M is number 15 in the country in passes of 20 or more yards. That terrifies me with how poorly we've seen the secondary play in the last few weeks. So like keeping things in front of you, keeping those, Craver and Concepcion in front of you, not letting them run past you, getting them on the ground when they've got the ball in their hands. Those guys are speedsters. Like that is something that Texas is really going to have to put a lid on.
Yeah, I'm not concerned at getting beat over the top in this game more than I'm concerned with, a quick 5 yard pass to the outside and they
Yep.
miss a tackle, and then it's a house call after that, because you're
Yep.
100% right. We talked about that after the Arkansas game of this team, for whatever reason, doesn't tackle great on the outside, especially Michael Taff, who used to be a really good tackler. I don't know what's happened the past couple weeks. I know he got hurt, but if you're out there, you got to make those tackles. Cade Phillips, I was, pleasantly surprised. He made that one great
Yeah.
play in Arkansas where he got underneath the offensive lineman and made the tackle out in open space. Otherwise, that's a pretty big game because he was the only one out there. So I agree with that. I think I need a big game from Cade Phillips tackling. I need to get big game from Manny Muhammad, who's been very good this year. So I expect a good game from him tackling. It's honestly comes down to that second cornerback spot out in space and then the safety spot where Michael Tapp is. And it's going to be interesting. And, another thing that I want to float out there that I brought up in the postgame show, I wouldn't mind if Texas, shifted Jelani McDonald down to linebacker, because I think honestly at this point in this type of game, he's probably a little bit more adept to do that than go out there and cover in space. We saw a couple plays in Arkansas where he's one-on-one with guys and he's kind of getting juked out of his shoes, and he's not really great one-on-one in coverage right now, but he's pretty good at coming downhill and making tackles and being physical. His interception was a play in which he was super close to the line of scrimmage. He was able to jump up there and make that interception. If he's playing back in his safety spot, he's not able to make that play. So I think that's maybe something they can do. They did that a little bit in the Arkansas game, but not enough, in my opinion, especially with the struggles of Leongo Lafau and Trey Moore, especially in the first half. That game was terrible run fit-wise in the first half from the linebackers. So that's going to be interesting to me. And it's just like, hey, we played Mike Washington last week, guys, where we saw his explosiveness. And that first carry, we're lucky that's not a touchdown. That he's through that gap where Anthony Hill maybe makes the play because Trey Moore, didn't make the play in the run fit, and he's out the gate, and it's one-on-one down the sideline. Luckily, we get him out of bounds. Well, we're playing Reuben Owens, who's just as capable of Mike Washington this week. So, again, I agree with you. Stop the explosive plays, whether that be from the backfield or the wide receivers. Do you have another one for us, Gerald?
Yeah, my last one is the inverse of that. Is you've got to connect on some big plays. Texas A&M is the bottom half of the country in passes longer than 30 yards. They've given up 32 passes of 20 or more yards, specifically through the air. They are kind of gettable, right? Their secondary is good, but they've given up some big chunk plays. And Texas, we saw it this last week. Arch Manning was better on the deep balls than he has been all year. 7 of 11 for like 250 yards on passes longer than 15 yards for Arch Manning in this last game. Now, Arkansas did have some deficiencies at corners as far as speed goes, but ultimately, if you can connect on a couple of those chunk plays and get A&M playing on the back heel, force Marcel Reed to not be able to use his feet as much, force them away from Reuben Owens, force them away from that potent running attack, that is a recipe for this game going Texas's favor. Texas is going to have to, and I hate saying this about A&M because it hurts my Longhorn elitism, but Texas has to be able to run the underdog playbook in this one. They have to connect on big plays. They have to take some risks and really capitalize on them in order to win this game, because frankly, A&M's got the better squad this year. I'm not unafraid to say that. When you look at the deficiencies on Texas's roster, A&M is the favorite for a reason.
No, I agree. They are going to have to complete on some deep balls. And I think the one thing that I've been calling for, and we talked about in our group chat of, hey, are we ever going to fake that Ryan Wingo, swing or screen pass at the beginning of the game? They did try to fake it versus Arkansas, but you got to come up with a better fake, because if that's the fake, I didn't like it where you throw in a route down the sideline to Jack Andrews, who's not super explosive. So I'm hoping that was kind of a fake, but then they have another one stored up for this type of game, because there has to be something else off that. Those can't be the only two things where you have that and then a Jack Andrews right down the sideline. And luckily you had the deep over to DeAndre Moore sneak out the backside because the safety came down. But yeah, there's got to be something else there to me. But, teams are giving us that every time. Heck, if he does a split versus Georgia, he's getting at least 8 to 10 yards. And if he breaks the tackle, it's a touchdown. So maybe that is truly, hey, we're just going to keep swinging it out here. No one's going to do anything about it because they're worried about the fake that could come off of it. But Mike Elko is a super aggressive guy. Would not shock me if he's they're going to do this, and they bite on it and hopefully have something better than that play to create an explosive. Next up, for me, I need my game changers in this game. Who would people say the game changers are for Texas? They would say Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill on the defensive side of the ball. They would say Ryan Wingo and then Arch Manning on the offensive side of the ball. I need those guys to play like that. The last time we went and played Georgia, in a big game like this. I saw Arch Manning show up, and I saw Anthony Hill show up. I really didn't think Colin Simmons showed up. He had 1 sack, but that was off a busted play that had no impact in the game. It was the first play of the game. Kind of went quiet. And no offense to Colin Simmons, when he put up his stats versus elite competition and everyone else, the elite competition stats aren't that good, guys. He didn't have a sack in the Ohio State game in the Cotton Bowl. Did he create havoc? Yeah, that was probably his best game versus elite competition. Didn't do anything in the first game versus Ohio State last time. And then he didn't do anything versus Georgia this time. So he's got to show up in these big moments, create more havoc, get a couple sacks, force a fumble like he did versus Arkansas. And then on the offensive side of the ball, like I said, Arch Manning showed up, but no one else did. Someone else is going to have to come along and help out Arch Manning, whether that be Ryan Wingo, whether that be Parker Livingston, whether that be a Trey Wisner who did show up in the Oklahoma game. Can we get that version of Trey Wisner? Can we get that version that you say, Gerald, that hates the rivals, that hates Oklahoma and Texas A&M? Can he give us one of those games? If we get that type of game, I think Texas can easily win this football game. The question is, we haven't really seen that type of game from Trey Wisner this year other than the Oklahoma game. So can he duplicate it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's completely fair. And, this Texas run game has not been good at all this year. And, when you look at like A&M's run defense, I don't see, if Sark goes away from the run in this game, I feel fine with it. A&M's got a stupid stuff, right? I think like 22 or 23% of like run stuff, 2.5 line yards per rush. I just don't see it happening. So like you don't want to be one dimensional. You want to be able to get those things going. But ultimately, like A&M's got a good front and Texas just hasn't shown it against that level of competition. And even against worse competition, Arkansas is a terrible run defense. Texas can do jack against them. So like, I think Texas is who it is at this point, and that's fine. They just have to find ways to manufacture those yards elsewhere, right? Which is why that swing pass. Again, I would love to see them go. If you go watch the Georgia game, or go watch the Arkansas game, that pass, like everybody bites on that swing. Like if you've got DeAndre Moore running down the sideline, and you've got Emmett Mosley running down the sideline, they're probably going for 6 on that play. So like, there's an opportunity there. But ultimately, like I have low hopes for the run game in this game just because we're in week 12. This is who Texas is at this point. So, like, it is what it is.
We didn't give our picks in the preview with Cam, but we're going to do them now. Gerald, I'll let you go first. Do you think Texas wins this football game?
I struggle. My head and my heart are very misaligned on this. And because I am who I am, I think I have to go with Texas because I just can't. You made me pick Texas A&M in multiple weeks. You made me pick Oklahoma in multiple weeks. I'm not going to do it today. So I've got to go. I think Texas wins this one in a close one. I think Texas, we'll call it 27-24.
I felt better about this game even a couple weeks ago than I did the Georgia game. I'm going to be honest with you. There was not a bone or cell in my body that thought we could win that Georgia game. We kept it close for a little bit, but then the floodgates open. I do think we win this football game. I think we're going to win this football game 29-26. I think it's not a super high scoring game, but not a low scoring game either. I think these offenses will probably come out slower and then adapt, and then you're going to see the playmakers go off. I need Ryan Wingo to be what he's been basically the last 6 quarters. If he can give me that, yeah, the last 6 quarters he's been fine. If he can do that, I think we'll be good to go. Emmett Mosley, do what you always do, old, reliable, and then Parker Livingston, make a couple plays down the field. Do not drop a perfect deep ball this time. You cannot do that in this type of game, so please don't do that. If that goes well, I think we'll be all right. And I agree. We're not going to run the ball. Guys, I've said since last year we don't really run the ball versus elite competition, and then we've just taken a complete step backwards of now we just don't run the ball at all versus anyone. So this game is going to come down to whether or not Arch Manning can make plays in dirty pocket, and when the pocket is clean, what kind of plays can we make, and how many clean pockets can we give him? That's what it's going to come down to me. So I do think we'd get enough of that. I think we win 29-26.
We both got 3 points. I think we're pretty close on that.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate it.